John Jones was doing what with a male athletic commission member backstage in his locker room before one of his big fights that John McCarthy saw him do? Craziness. John Jones was doing what with a male athletic commission member backstage in his locker room before one of his big fights that John McCarthy saw him do? Craziness. Everyone said I was crazy. Now
get ready.
Got a story about something that John Jones was up to. I'll just let it play.
But when I went into John's locker room, he's bouncing around, he's having a good time, and he said, "I got a question for you. I said, "Yeah, what's your question?"
So Big John's a UFC referee, goes backstage, talks to the fighters before their big fights, and they'll ask him, "Okay, is this legal? Is that
this
legal?
Is crazy.
Am I allowed to do this? What should I do if this happens? I've got this going on. Do you want to know about that? So if I'm in this position, then you can be aware of it." So a lot of information gets passed back and forth between the UFC.
Yeah, you know how it goes. It's
and
kind of common.
Champion in John Jones. I don't know if every fighter gets this treatment, but let it play.
And he says, "I need somebody." And there's an individual there, and that individual was a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And,
poor bastard.
Commission. And he says, "Is someone getting on the ground for me?" Right? And so this guy, being a ground guy, and being someone that was, man, I'm in John Jones's locker room.
All right.
This is great.
So he's starstruck by John Jones.
Exactly.
And this is when these types of people pounce. When they notice that you're starstruck. When P. Diddy sees that looking at you, holy shit, this guy's hyped up to be around P. Diddy. He'll do anything. This is when these types of people pounce. Okay? This is P. Diddy stuff. This is John Jones stuff.
So you kind of see where this is going.
This poor athletic commission member is backstage in the locker room with John Jones for whatever reason, and he's been brought along as an example to display some kind of move.
An athletic commission member.
To see if it's okay.
Man.
What happened, Big John? Tell us your harrowing story.
Let's go.
And so he says, "Oh, I'll do it for you." He says, "I know how to roll.
I'll do it for you."
Put me in guard, right? And then John decides to do a sexual act with him.
What? This is crazy! Everybody call me crazy! I knew this about John Jones. We need to what is going on here? Is Big John pranking me? I feel like Big John McCarthy is running a big prank on me right now.
But you gotta give it to Guru.
What?
He's right. He has been talking a lot about this, about
but this is like the Ellen. I said this is
situations
like but Ellen was horrible. So everyone had like some
with John Jones on blast, kind of.
Like, knocked something off of their desk once, and she didn't leave a tip that well once at a restaurant. She's a horrible person. This is crazy. Left, right, and center, more evidence to support these crazy claims that only a madman would believe over time. He did what, Big John?
Put me in guard, right? And John decides to do a sexual act with him.
John Jones decides to just do a sexual act with this man from the commission that happens to be in his locker room in front of Big John McCarthy.
Saying, what if I do this? Right? This isn't illegal, right?
This isn't illegal, right? John Jones, it's good to know that he's following the words of the law.
My
That's
God.
the only thing holding Jones back, honestly, at some point, is the law. Okay? And even that doesn't hold him back. But at least it's good to know he has some kind of compass. Like, this isn't illegal, right? Just to do this. Insane.
And the guy who was on the ground, quickly his eyes went, as big as they could get. Like, what are you doing? And
of course.
Why is nothing being made of this? This, in any other sport, would be the craziest news ever. This, in any other... NBA news comes out.
Man.
Anthony Towns fucking sneezed the other day. He sneezed.
Guru has a huge point.
Did you hear about him sneezing? And that goes viral on Twitter. Did you see how Anthony Edwards he tripped over?
What's happening?
John Jones
It's
performed
not normal.
sexual acts on male members of the Athletic Commission backstage before his fights. UFC referee Big John McCarthy telling you this information. Crickets from the MMA media. I'm not letting this go. Okay. These stories must be heard. How many more victims are there?
He has a point, man. I only knew this through him. I mean, okay.
And if he's comfortable enough to do
He's reacting to a Big John McCarthy video, but I knew it through him. You know what I'm saying? This should have been a boom, you know?
At first I was thinking, okay, I'm saying that, but it's a bit far-fetched. John Jones is probably just gay. But now I'm thinking otherwise. How many more commission members that were then going on to judge John Jones's fights did he just violate backstage and make fear?
Well, for a start, let me begin by saying this has anything to do with any kind of phobia, But there are things you need to take into account. I mean, this is someone from the Athletic Commission, and it's definitely a crime. But of course, then there is the other side when you start speculating. John Jones always tries to sell that pristine, good Christian man persona. And let me tell you, man, so many times I wished it was true. But okay, let's not get carried away. Let's keep watching.
He says, just put me in guard, right? And then John decides to do a sexual act with him. Saying, what if I do this?
Does the sexual act?
This isn't illegal, right?
So wild.
The guy who was on the ground, quickly his eyes went, as big as they could get. Like, what are you doing? And I said, John, knock it off, right? And
knock it off. Stop raping him.
Come on, boy.
What? Knock it off.
Behave.
Oh, there's John Jones raping someone backstage. What is going on? Come on, John, knock it off, dude. What are we doing here?
Man, it doesn't even seem possible, right?
It's not fish. I bet you anything it's not an oil check. I bet you anything it's not an oil check. The guy gets down in guard. So to get an oil check from there for John Jones would be, I know his arms are long. But
man, and this coming from John McCarthy, it's...
Or it would be said, because that's a very commonly known about thing. This is a sexual act that John Jones is committing on a man who had no idea it was about to go down. In front of Big John. And then, knock it off, John. And then the guy on the floor goes, oh my God, what is John Jones doing to me? This is crazy.
Right?
How much more has been swept under the rug? Would this explain the favoritism of John Jones? If these are the stories we're just hearing about. What stories would come out if there was some kind of investigation done?
I haven't thought like this.
No, seriously though. For a major sports organization.
I believe his insinuation that this could be a way of intimidation or whatever. I don't know.
It's the premier fighting organization. If these are the stories we're just hearing said willy-nilly on a podcast from UFC referees or former UFC referees and pioneers of the judging and the refereeing in the sport and the rules of the sport in general, in Big John McCarthy, then what stories aren't we hearing about John Jones?
Man, damn.
Let it play. I've let it play for a bit longer.
I can even think about that.
Help the person up.
The victim. You heard the victim of what John Jones just did to him. You helped him up.
And he goes, I'm just joking. And he goes, but really, what could you do? I said,
John Jones goes, just joking. Just violated that guy on the ground. You know? Got another one. Another one fell for the old John Jones special, dude. Just kidding. Violated some guy on the ground in front of you. Sexually violated this guy. Another one fell for it, dude. Anyway, what could you really do about it?
Because I'm just joking. And he goes, but
man, but yeah, what could you do about it? That's what it all comes down to. And
go ahead and do it. Let's see what happens.
Kind of scary to think about it.
Disqualify you for being unsportsmanlike. Go ahead and do it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Oil checks have been done in the sport. Oil checks are done in the sport. And that's when someone sort
could
of
it be a way to put everyone in place, you know? Referees, whoever, you know what I'm saying? This is kind of scary to think about.
You'd never be able to do that. I'll disqualify you. And he's having to lay down the law in front of John Jones before one of his UFC fights. Dude, you can't just... He's having to explain to John that he can't perform sexual acts on his...
By the way, I'm just
John wanted to run this
flying, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know what I'm saying.
Just so I'm clear. Just think about that. John Jones is thinking there in the locker room. I wonder if I can bun this guy in the cage. Just so we're clear, Big John, can I do this to my opponent? I need to know what opponent this was for. If this was for Gustafsson with those blue eyes, these allegations have come full circle. If this was for a Gustafsson rematch with them blue eyes.
Oh my God.
You know how John Jones loves a set of blue eyes. Watch some other videos I did before. Because this isn't enough evidence on its own. There's about 5 other videos of evidence for this. I'm going crazy about this topic. Either way.
This is why John and I never really got along.
This is why John and I never really got along. He just wanted to rape guys in front of me, you know? And I kept telling him, knock it off, John. You know? This is insane.
Of course, Guru is trying to exaggerate, but it's just so
the way it is.
funny.
It's okay.
I could see if he did that like with a buddy of his, like goofing
That's
around.
different.
That's different. Goofing around. And this is a clarification I'm glad I actually included here. I could see if it was a buddy of his goofing around backstage. That's different, says Big John. That's very different than dragging some random commissioner who thinks he's partaking in like a half guard.
Not knowing what really went down. Yeah.
And then just violating him sexually backstage.
Yeah. Some stuff, maybe.
And you're the UFC champ, so who's going to do anything about it? I mean, seriously, think to yourself, if this was any other sporting star in any other sport, what example would be made? This is on site in a UFC locker room at an event. This is happening. This isn't John Jones's escapades outside.
I mean, to some degree, I can even understand why Guru is questioning all this stuff. I mean, a lot has happened throughout John's career, and sometimes you have to think, why doesn't he get punished? Man, I saw a video of this guy saying that the reason why they push Jones so much is that they own Jones in a way they didn't even own McGregor. So there's a lot of money involved. Either way, it's a pity, man, because I'm a huge John Jones fan. But if this is what makes John Jones accept the Tom Aspinall fight, damn, I'm with it.
Really got along. Is that?
This is why John and I never really got along. He just wanted to rape guys in front of me, you know? I just couldn't, yeah. And I kept telling him, knock it off, John.
Guru is hilarious.
This is insane.
I didn't put up with the shit.
Yeah.
You know? And that's just the way it is.
I'm not making fun of no one, but it's just hilarious.
That's different. Goofing around. And this is a clarification I'm glad I actually included here. I could see if it was a buddy of his goofing around backstage. That's different, says Big John. That's very different than dragging some random commissioner who
not knowing exactly what went on.
And then just violating him sexually backstage.
Yeah, some stuff
and you're the UFC
you could
champ,
consider
so
it could fly under the radar if it was one of your pals, right?
If this was any other sporting star in any other sport, what example would be made? This is on site in a UFC locker room at an event. This is happening.
This is serious stuff, man.
Outside of the UFC. What a fucking weird sport we're in. Let it play.
Different than some random commissioner in the back, a random fan, a random person who's working as an usher or something like that. You're like, yeah, get down here, and then you do it to some person you've never met before. It just
and that's why Greg Jackson comes up to me and says, John, I'm sorry he did that. I go, he's just a dipshit. You know?
So Greg Jackson, the coach of John Jones, comes up to Big John McCarthy and says, listen, man, I'm sorry he did that, man. Like, I don't understand the whole concept. Like, Greg Jackson, the coach
it's kind of weird.
The handler of John Jones, is having to come up to Big John and saying, listen, buddy, I'm sorry you actually did that, man. I'm sorry that he did that in front of you. Like, he's having to apologize. So this is not a fish hook. Or, no, it's not a fish hook. This is not an oil check, man. This is not an oil check.
An oil check?
Big John and saying, I'm sorry he did that. And also, Greg Jackson is walking up to Big John and apologizing for John Jones's behavior. Like, this is a regular thing. I'm sorry about that, Big John. I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah, just can't take him anywhere. I'm sorry,
this is this is the reason why I chose to react to Guru's version. You know, I could have looked up. I could have looked up John McCarthy's podcast.
UFC event, like is being claimed.
But man,
what the actual fuck is going on in the UFC, and why is this not mainstream news?
It's just so funny.
Why do I have to break all of this news? You know how crazy this makes me?
Yeah, plus I have a speech problem, so
this is out there for everyone to see.
Perfect.
And only I have to break this news for everyone. With the John Jones, Nene, Ian, Gary, every single fucking topic I get into. Why is this not mainstream news? This would be front and center.
Yeah, at least this is the good point he's making, man. This is a good point.
I didn't choose this. I just can't. I can't keep this in.
And then even these videos come.
I need to tell the world.
Well,
this is insane.
On several platforms and all that, and end up not
so John Jones
being pushed I don't,
just
you know what I'm
performed sexual
saying? It's
acts
kind of
on a
weird.
man unconsensually backstage at a UFC event. That much can be said.
I don't know, man. UFC is
John
big,
Jones
man,
performed
and
non-consensual
yeah.
sexual acts on a man backstage before a UFC event in his locker room, and it's to the point of John Jones' behavior, so much so that he's got his handler apologizing that someone had to witness that again. And
Yeah,
this is just
John
an
Jones
everyday thing for John Jones.
is worth a lot of
That we're
money
so
right
casually
now.
talking about
So
on the podcast that he did.
I'm sure he needs to be protected
Insanity.
in a
But we
way.
got other stuff to get into though. But God, little did I know how right I was about John Jones years ago. And everyone called me dumb. Everyone called me insane. I'm like, dude, the evidence is out there.
I mean, but
out.
it's true.
It's gonna come out. What did Rampage say? Oh, what did Rampage say? You know there's a clip of Rampage. I'm going insane right now.
Yeah, the reason why I'm falling for this in a way,
and this is
yeah,
after my stuff came out about
we've
John
been
Jones.
having some red flags along the way,
there's
you know.
Crazy stuff gonna come out about John Jones, and I can't talk about it legally, but it's gonna come out soon. I wonder what it is. Pairing all of this information that we have with all of the mistreatment and preferential treatment at the cost of the company for John Jones by the UFC. This is insanity. We got John Jones.
I'm not saying any more than what I already said.
Was non-consensually committing sexual acts with men in locker rooms. Before his UFC fights, before we got GTA 6.
So yeah, man, I really had to react to this video, especially because the last video I uploaded, I was talking about John Jones and all that situation with Tom Aspinall. But actually, that video was a restream, which means I tried to edit it again and ended up not looking that great. Actually, I think this is kind of a miracle, because I think the only way he'll get his masculinity back now is to accept the fight with Tom Aspinall. By the way, tomorrow I'll be uploading a podcast with Deal with Will. Check it out. We'll be both talking about struggles in life. Definitely a different kind of vibe, but you know how it goes in this channel. But hey, I'm not taking you any longer. Thank you guys for being around. Like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.